What's up, guys? Let me start this video off by saying the title is not what you think, but it is still true. So I want you to come and check this out. At first, I know you guys are probably thinking, oh, what happened now? But you know what? It's kind of a godsend because, you know what? Sometimes we get a little bit carried away, overwhelmed, you could say, with fish. But we hardly have any fish left to rehome. All our quarantine tanks are empty. Now, this doesn't usually happen for long because we always have more and more fish to rescue and rehome. We've got a bunch coming this weekend. But 80-gallon empty, 40-gallon empty, 20s empty, 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 empty. This one's empty. This one has the little Australian lungfish in there. Look at that cute little guy. So he originally came in with a fungus on him. We got him all treated up and got that fungal infection cleared up. You guys can see his front fins were not fully developed. You can see these little knobs sticking off in the back. He had a real hard time swimming because he didn't have the fin development. So now he's been here for a few days and I got him eating good. You got to kind of target feed him and place the food right in front of his mouth, and he'll kind of jerk his body sideways and look a little unnatural until he gets the food. But now that he's got that fin growing in, he's starting to get a little bit of control. But I do want to give another shout out to Lone Star Rare and Exotic Fish Co. They sent this beautiful baby Australian lungfish to us. Now I got to suck out some poop because, you know, I feed him 2-3 times a day. And he gets a mixture of massivore pellets, shrimp, and tilapia. And he absolutely loves it. I've got a snail in here to help clean up after him. But back to the video. We come around here, we've got this 450-gallon, which if you guys recall, I went ahead and resealed. Brand new seals, back corner, that corner, there. Pretty much everywhere there's a seal, brand new seal around the whole entire tank. And we got it all sealed up. So now this tank is ready for water. But you know what? We haven't had the fish that we wanted to go ahead and fill this thing up, because nothing sucks worse than having an empty tank and nothing to put in it. So this is being reserved until we need it for quarantine. The filter is running on a different tank. So you know what? That works for us right now. And in the meantime, I can go ahead and build the canopy for it and not rush the build. But this tank is ready to go. 450 gallons, 8 by 3 by 3, I think so. Maybe a little bit less than 3 foot tall. But again, back to my point of the video, we've got no fish in here, just Larry the lobster. Over here we've got these awesome Goliath tigerfish, which are getting fat. This tank is empty besides our planiceps and the gold dorado. This tank is empty. This tank is empty. These two are ready to come out of quarantine. We're keeping them for our native tank. So this tank is pretty much empty. We've got 2 little goldfish or shabunkins to rehome. The rest of the tank's empty. We come down here, this 550 is empty besides 1 red-tail cat we have left to rehome, which I can go ahead and toss him in the 3000. And this 550 is empty. Down here, this tank is empty. That arowana is going over to the 1,000-gallon. So right now we have a number of 1, 2, and 3 fish left to rehome right now, and our quarantine tanks are completely empty. So it's basically just left. Everything you see here is staying with us. This is either a part of our personal collection, our mascots, like we got Tesla over here, we've got Lavaca. Of course, we've got different ones around the different tanks and whatnot. But this one down here, empty tank. It is ready for fish in quarantine. We've got this 100-gallon down here, completely empty. Not a single fish to rehome. This does not happen very often or for a long period of time. So this weekend we've got a bunch of fish that are supposed to be dropped off at the rescue. A lot of smaller fish. So you know what? Those can go out to a bunch of the hobbyists. You know, you guys might not see the list online, but I post them, and if they're gone, I take the posting down. So they get posted on the Facebook group first. And of course, if anybody messages me in my personal message on Facebook or my cell phone, and they say, hey, I'm looking for this fish or that fish, I always go to my list of people that I know are looking for that exact fish, and we go ahead and call them up like, hey, we just got in this Oscar. I know you have a 180 gallon. You were looking for an Oscar. Come on by and scoop him up. And that makes a lot of people happy there. So looking back at this tank, you know, there is a few fish in here we can actually rehome, but if they go in the 3,000, they pretty much stay here until we find a tank that's larger than a 3,000 for them to go to. Like I have one pacu I can rehome, and you know, there's some other big fish in here that I will rehome to public zoos and aquariums, stuff like that, or a larger tank, but that doesn't happen often. Again, so coming out here, we have actually two empty tanks, that 580 and that 750 over there. I know I've been talking about getting them up and rolling, but now it's time with the patio being done in the back room and nothing else to do. It's about time to start getting these projects back underway. I want to take these koi and basically move this one tank over and combine and consolidate. And I want to take this tank right here. I mentioned those bowfin and the largemouth bass. I want to put in this tank here, kind of make it a little bit of a riverscape and have that the Ohio native tank right here, right at the edge of all these pond plants, and have it surrounded there. I think it would look great. And you know what? In the wintertime, they can deal with a little bit cooler water too. So I think that works out perfectly right there. All right, so before I forget, I want to hit upon another little lesson here. So you know, whenever I'm in a video and I see an opportunity that I think it's a teachable opportunity that our followers, our viewers can actually learn something out of it, well, here's the lesson for today, folks. So I mentioned that a lot of these tanks are completely empty. That means no fish are in them. That means there is no ammonia being produced. So eventually, if I leave these tanks open, like look at this tank down here, 2 sponge filters, if I leave this tank open or no fish in it, empty, the bacteria in them filters will die. Looking over here in this 550 quarantine, there is 7 different FX5 and FX6 filters that are on this tank. They're actually below it. They're all lined up across the whole 9 foot of the tank. And if I leave just a single fish in there, most of the bacteria in some of these filters are going to die off because you don't have the bio load in the water that's, you know, feeding all the bacteria in all of these filters. So, you know, I mentioned in a previous video that your mechanical and your bio have to be sized right and appropriate for the tank, which is true. And if you put too much filtration on it as far as biological goes, you can never have too much mechanical. But as far as the bio only, the bacteria colony could die off if you don't have enough fish feeding all of the biomedia that you have. Now, that's not saying that's a bad thing necessarily, to where if you have an abundant amount of biological bacteria on your system, like sometimes we do have too much biological, but what that opens the door for is if you put another fish in there, you have room for the bacteria to spread and grow even more, and eventually in a few short weeks, your bacteria colony will grow to the size of that bio load. So along with that, you're going to have many cycles in your tank. So as far as a system like ours goes, we don't really have to worry about it. We never see it because our bacteria colony is so great that we never, you know, see a small spike. If, you know, 20 or so of these bio balls have to be seeded with more bacteria. In other words, the concentration of bacteria on each bio ball has to get denser so we can handle more of the bio load. We're never going to see a spike in our water quality here. But say if you had, you know, 180 gallon and you put a bunch of fish in here real quick thinking your filter would keep up because, hey, I have, you know, 2 FX5s on a 180 gallon tank, that should be right. The dude from Ohio Fish Rescue told me if I have enough filtration that, you know what, you'll be able to handle it. But the simple fact is you got to give time for the bacteria to grow. So back to my statement over here, if I leave these tanks empty, they're used to a certain bioload in every single tank, that if I don't have the ammonia going into the water, you're not feeding the bacteria in your filters, and your filters will eventually die off. They won't die completely because, you know what, there's always fish going back in there. But you will have a die-off of some of your beneficial bacteria in those tanks. So I hope this was a decent, teachable moment for you guys. Look at these cichlids. They just keep following me as I'm filming. Pretty neat. So before I take up too much of your guys' time, I just want to say I hope you enjoyed today's video. You got a nice lesson. You got to see some cool fish in the video. You learned we hardly have nothing left in quarantine to rehome right now, which is an awesome feeling for now. But in just tomorrow actually, we're getting a bunch more fit fish in. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you want to see more crazy adventures with the Ohio Fish Rescue, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And as always, stay fishy, my friends.